All right. So I know that they will probably be coming across from Rob's stuff. So I'll just give them a little bit of time to get in here because this is on a very exciting panel. And I know that nobody wants to miss it because, we talk about women in STEM, and that is I think, one of the most critical things that we need to talk about, especially within our industry, because there's so many things. And like, I'm just thinking on the top of my head, diversity, everything, not just about women alone, because in our industry, especially with the things that we deal with, we need to have diversity of thought. And there are so many things that we think about doing differently in terms of the way our mind works. I know it's a very complex thing that people can't understand. Women tend to do that all the time. They're like, how do you open this bottle of water? I was like, no, you can do it this way, this way, this way, and this way. And then everybody's just like, okay, well, this is all we know how to do. This is what we do all the time. So diversity of thought is so important. But I'll give the attendees about a minute again to get into this session because I know they've been leaving Rob's session, you know, which was amazing, totally amazing on his side. Like, I know he did a great job when he went through his session. So I hope you all enjoyed it. And we are going to be talking about women in STEM. So now I'm going to introduce our panelists, which I think a lot of you should know by now. We have Charlie Matthews. She is the founder and the CEO of Empowering Pumps and Equipment. So she is all about empowering women, all about that. We have Marcella Ceva. She's from Brazil. Yay. Chief Investment Officer at WE Ventures in Microsoft. And we have Elona Rista. She is joining us from the US. She's a product support manager at Solar Turbines. Now, the great thing is that everybody is in a different time zone. How amazing is that? So we have all of these women coming together today to talk about how do we actually encourage more women into STEM. So a lot of times we a lot of women, and this is just from me talking to other women in the industry, they have a barrier when they think about entering a lot of I don't want to call it male dominated fields because I know there's a bit of a thing with that, but they have some sort of a, you know, they don't want to join this sector because they think that, there's too many men in it, or if they start to join it, they're gonna have issues. So it's been difficult to encourage more women to get into STEM. And sometimes what happens is that because of that barrier, they feel like they cannot enter and they don't want to get involved in it. And they're like, oh, I'll stay away from that. So, Charlie, I want to ask you about, because you work within the pump industry and all of the different types of industries as well. How can we encourage more women to get involved in STEM and, to be part of this industry?
Well,
What
there's a lot
advice?
of different ways. Yes, thank you so much for having me here. And I absolutely love to encourage people in general, right? To develop
Yes.
and encourage people. And so there's kind of two categories of people I think about: people that we want to come into our industries, and they need to hear about it. They need to hear about all of the different opportunities that we have. And a lot of times I think that we can do that by sharing, right? I love social media because we can see into somebody's world. So posting on social, we always have to, you know, find a way to educate people on why they should do it. And one of the reasons is so that we can see into that world. And so that will encourage people just to be able to see what you do at work. And then also having more role models, women role models that are showcasing that. So I definitely encourage our women that are in the field to share that, and to encourage their companies to tell their company story. I also would say that I'm probably more so excited about encouraging the women who are in STEM already. And that is, recognition, and again, sharing the story. I'll say that a lot, I'm sure, but I think it's so important. We've heard a lot, if you don't see it, you can't be it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so true, because I've seen people encourage and empower people just by sharing, hey, I did it this way. Maybe don't do quite these things. This might get you into trouble. But also just being there for that group of women, or as a mentor, to share that story. That's pretty much what
Oh
I think
yeah.
is the very best. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Marcella, how do you want to add to that? I know, and your background is a little bit different, so it's interesting to have your take on this one. How can we encourage them?
Thank you so much for having me. First of all, it's a huge pleasure to be here, and especially speaking about our cause, what drives us, what motivates us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, First, when you say male dominated fields, and you're reluctant to say that, well, statistically, it's true. Those fields are dominated by men, and women are definitely underrepresented in many of the most relevant fields in economics in the industry. So, yeah, unfortunately, that's what's the truth right now. What numbers show us, we are definitely walking towards. And I don't want to give away too much because I'm speaking about this really soon later, right? I'm having another talk about this, but you're definitely walking towards a more equitable future, taking the very necessary steps towards that. But what the basis for us here, we really need to understand, is there is absolutely no, yes, no problem. There are
Yes.
males also saying, yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes,
Thank you for
great.
being here. That's fantastic. Thank you for being here. And yes, let's champion more women. We are never against male dominated fields. We're just trying to make them
I'll
more
just add
equitable and bring
one
them
thing on
into it.
that. Marcella, it's male populated, I think, is the point of
Ah,
kind of that hesitation of people. They're saying male populated versus male dominated, just to show, like, some women are kind of dominating in their industry, but it's a negative word, right? It would
Okay,
just
I'm just saying numbers.
yeah,
Numbers wise, there are more men than women. That's all I mean to
yeah.
say. I'm sorry if since I'm Brazilian, I might,
no, you
use
No,
weren't. I was just
wording
explaining it
sometimes.
for other people, not for you at all. No.
But yes, we are just facing a systemic problem here, right? Less women graduate on STEM careers yearly worldwide. That's a fact. And there is the UN Women has already made research on this that shows that there are
Mhm.
no differences, no physiological, no
Yeah.
differences between men and women growing up. We just need exactly what Charlie said before, inspiration. We need to show women that they belong there, that there's nothing wrong with liking math, there's nothing wrong with being good at it and seeking it. And the role models are essential. Female teachers in STEM subjects in school and college are essential to provide that inspiration, those role models, and to show women that yes, we belong there and we can be there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm gonna pass it over to Elona.
Yeah.
I know in your industry as well.
Yeah, and I guess the one example that I'll give that was more pervasive when we used to go to the office more often before COVID, now less so, but it's still there anytime that we walk into a conference room. Oftentimes I find myself the only woman there, and sometimes when you see another woman across a room of 100 people, it's kind of a high and wave.
Yes.
Glad that you're here too. But it is very, very obvious, especially on this side of the business. I work in the turbo machinery field, and by far, especially in the field, the representation from guys, from males, is much more so than women. And as much work as is being done to encourage women that are already in STEM or that are already in college taking STEM fields, and it's very much appreciated. I think it's doing a great job in encouraging those people. In my opinion, that work needs to start, and I see it in many places much earlier. because that discouragement of women pursuing STEM fields and sciences seems to start much earlier in the schooling. And in fact, I'll give mine as an anecdotal experience, and this was many years ago. Maybe things are different back home, but we were taking home ec, for example, as the girls, while the guys were taking wood shop and metal shop. So that's the number one, or the first discouragement is right there, to take something where your hands are used for more than just cleaning, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
moving on from that, one example that we have taken part of as part of the SWE, or the Society of Women Engineers at Solar, was to bring in students from various ages, sometimes high schoolers, to show them what we do, sometimes middle schoolers, and not only just to show them, well, this is what solar turbines is, and this is what we do, because it tends to be a little abstract and intimidating to a certain degree. But it also show them little, just small engineering or science projects that can be done in 30 minutes. And it's unbelievable to see, and these are mixed groups, it's not just girls.
Okay.
It's unbelievable to see that light spark in somebody's eye when they can make something work, and they realize that this is actually engineering and science. It's not right away you're going to be thrown into fixing a spouting fountain of oil, but it starts with things as small as that, and yes, you can do it too.
I
Oh
want to
yeah.
add to what she said. When I think about all of the stories that we've heard, a lot of people, a lot of women in the industry either had a dad or a figure that would take them alongside and let them kind of join in and learn something that's kind of traditionally a male thing to do, right? And they're always the ones that they bring up and talk about, that somebody, a male figure, encouraged them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that that's really important too. And I also I wanted to bring it back to family a little bit, because I do think we have the opportunity outside of kind of these structured things at school to influence our families and their friends. And so to show them what we do at work, to include them in work, it really does make a difference. I watched my daughter last night get so excited. I was at an award ceremony, and she was so excited just to see my, picture up there. And she's like, "That's my mom." And you just think about encouraging any child in your work, and educating them on what you do, and that the why are you wanting to work in a STEM field? It's so important, right? And so being able to encourage our children, and our schools, and them encouraging and giving them
Mm-hmm.
the tools as well.
Oh, definitely. And I'm just gonna bring it to a question that Angelica is asking us. What can individuals and communities do to support and encourage girls and women in STEM beyond the formal education and the workplace settings? So I think Charlie answered that a bit there in terms of just going back and talking about getting started at the family level, even in the communities. I think, and Elona mentioned it as well, in terms of it starting a lot younger than just, by the time they get into university or any of those other programs, changing the mindset at the very basic level. And it sometimes it starts on the playground.
Mhm.
It starts on the playground.
Well, I have two
So
sons and a
yeah.
daughter, and to watch her think that they're smarter than her, straight out the gate, especially in math, because my sons are wizards there. To discourage her, it was discouraging to her. So you almost have to tell her more, that
Mm-hmm.
she, and emphasize when she does something good at that age. I think she was around 8 when that was
Mm-hmm.
happening. And they're just older, right? And that's
Yeah.
just they've developed that skill before you. So it was really important to encourage, and there was no reason for it, right? It was just
Mm-hmm.
timing, and
Yes,
maybe not
timing.
pushing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe not pushing her to study those things as well.
Yeah, I want to bring it back to Marcella. Yes.
I would add to that the same UN Women's Study indicated that mostly women statistically handle homework chores with their kids at
Wow.
home. And historically, if we bring 200 years before we are today, women are even less interested or present in STEM careers. So what we need to do today as mothers, as parents, is bring the mother figure, the female figure, to the homework duty, but being open to STEM and to math, even if it's not our forte, even if it's not our favorite subject, we need to show interest in it, and we need to motivate our girl children, the female daughters, to be able to understand that they can and they may belong there. It's okay to like math. It's not something that should be frowned upon. There's also lots of research that shows that the more developed socially a country is, the more open they are to women entering those careers. There's so much tradition and so much cultural barriers that we need to, with time, we need
Mm-hmm.
to work past.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And we actually have a question for you, Marcella. Based on your background, in terms of investment dollars and supporting endeavors for a more diverse workforce, how do you see this working with encouraging more women in STEM? Because I know you do a lot in that area.
Specifically in what I do, our main belief here is we are bringing capital, we're bringing dollars to the hands of these women that are only 2%, right? So I'm not sure everybody's familiar. I'll bring our main concern here. Only 2% of global venture capital dollars are invested in female-led and female-founded companies. So that's very little. If we zoom it into Latin America, it's less than 1%. It's 0.4%.
Yeah.
And it's not a problem of bias only. It's not a problem of prejudice. It's a matter of, it's a systemic problem. As I said, less women, only in Brazil, only around 20% of women graduate into STEM careers, so they are less represented in those startup companies as well, right? In entrepreneurship, in technology. So what we do here, our main goal is to bring capital to the hands of those women that otherwise do not have access to it.
Yeah. Good.
That's how we believe we're going to motivate more women to get in STEM, right?
Yes.
Just like Charlie said, sharing and motivating and bringing the role models and inspiring the next generation of female founders to be there.
And investment, you made me think of that. We do have to invest in these tools. We have to invest our time and our energy and our resources to create some of these within our communities. It's so important, and it does take investment. It takes thinking about how we can do things differently, like Sanya was talking about earlier. That you may be like, this is not in the budget, I don't know how we're going to do this. Get creative. Megan was telling us, have a pizza party and invite everybody over to do a project, right? You can do that. So it's getting creative with that.
Oh, yes. And I know, Elona, like you mentioned the stuff that was going on with solar, so I want to bring it back to you.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, not so much from the solar perspective, from just what I've observed over time. I see that there's a very encouraging trend that when you look at the biological sciences, for example, or the chemistry side, maybe what some consider to be the softer sciences, there is an increasing percentage of women joining in and participating in. I don't know what the key is, why or what they did in those fields to encourage more women to join and participate. But a similar effort is much needed in electrical engineering and mechanical engineering, because as Solar Turbines, and I expect other companies similar to ours, we rely very heavily on those engineering tracks. The vast majority of our employees are mechanical engineer, aeronautical and electrical engineers. So whatever is working for the biotech industry and the biological sciences, I think needs to be brought into all the tracks of engineering. Even in school, when I was in college, and I didn't know what the percentages were at the time, I was just completely ignorant of that. I landed in chemical engineering where we were half and half, 50%, 50%. And I thought this is great and assumed that this was a standard. And every professor that walked into that room was shocked that there was actually a 50-50 mix, because in no other engineering class before or after in chemical engineering or the other engineering tracks was that the case. So again, while there are many things that are being done, it seems to be a little further removed the deeper you go into the engineering tracks, as
Oh,
far
yeah.
as encouraging women to get in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's also you know, in colleges, depending on which field you're in, um, it's it's not it, you don't feel like you're the only woman in those rooms. And then you go to work and you are, and
Mhm.
that's where it's shocking. And we have to prepare women for that, especially like at the college age and going into their first jobs. It can be intimidating. I wanted to just quickly comment on Cleo Smith, what she was saying.
Yes.
Um, the she was saying, okay, go into STEM fields, and then, nobody's told you what an engineer does. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
that's back on industry and educating of all the different STEM opportunities that are out there. I think, again, we just got to have more communication about it.
More communication, more role models. I think that a lot of times growing up, we don't see other women in these industries, or they're not talked about as much. So you're not like, well, I want to go in this industry because I've seen somebody who looks like me, who actually is thriving in this industry. So that's one of the things that I think we can start off with. Like, I love this stuff that you're talking about with solar turbines doing that, having the kids coming, having them seeing the stuff, and investing, like Marcella said, investing in the actual women who are running these businesses, and Charlie bringing it back to the family as well. I'm just going to take this other question from Angelica, because I know it's a big question, because she's asking, how can I overcome the feeling of inadequacy or imposter syndrome, especially as a newcomer to the STEM industry with a diverse knowledge background, so that I can feel confident and empowered to contribute my ideas and my insights? No, that is a big one. But you know what? I know we have three very capable women who are ready to answer that. Um, my first thing with that, I'll just jump very quickly to it. Don't ever think that you are inadequate. You bring so much value to the table because you have a diverse background. So know that you are confident, have your confidence with you, and just work with whatever you get thrown your way. You can handle it. Angelica, I believe in you because I know you. I definitely believe in you. But um
I want to
I'm
jump
I'm
on this.
jumping to I'm
Yeah.
jumping to Charlie to let her answer the question as well.
Well, this is what I've learned. We've been studying this for a while now, and Sheila V. She's the author of Brave.
Yeah.
We were talking about this, and she says if you have the imposter syndrome, celebrate that. If you feel that, that means you're working outside your comfort zone. It means you're growing, and you just take that and you're like, okay, I hear you, but that means I'm growing. I'm doing a great job. So every time, just you're flipping it, right? You're flipping that
Mm-hmm.
mindset of like, this is uncomfortable because I'm doing something new and you're growing. And so I just, Angelica, I think you're amazing. First of all, for asking the question on this, but also, we know just from that feeling that you're doing amazing things, stepping into a STEM
Yes.
career. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll add to that Angelica, you are in very good company, because many people, and not just women, but many engineers that I work with, feel exactly that way. Uh, my way of seeing it, and it doesn't always work because I'm always scared when I jump into something brand new, is to remember that every time that I've felt that way, once I have gotten into that position or into that new project, you realize that it's not as big or as scary as you originally thought. There's always support there. And you're always going to take it one step at a time. You're not going to be required to jump 10 steps ahead right away. And there's always somebody there who maybe not holding your hand, but at least encouraging you along the way. You can always ask questions along the way. So you're never alone in feeling
Mm-hmm.
inadequate, but you're also never alone in taking that journey and getting there. So it's doable. It is
Yes.
just a little bit scary to start with.
I
You've
would
already got
love
all
to
that
add.
encouragement. Oh, sorry, Marcella, go ahead.
No, sure. I would love to add on what Elona said. It's exactly what I was thinking. I think each and every single one of us should work to be that person who offers offers the hand, who lends the hand, who is open. When you see someone new somewhere, be that person, willing to help, willing to comfort, show empathy. We've all been there. We are there constantly in our jobs, in our lives. We're constantly out of our comfort zones. We're constantly feeling inadequate or feeling that we're not enough. Be that person who, brings the person in for a hug and chaperones her and welcomes. So I think it's much more of as a community, as a workforce, as a workplace, we should all always work to get together to build safe spaces for people so that they don't feel that way.
And I think safe spaces are very important because sometimes we forget about that. We totally miss it.
Everybody's busy. We're busy. We have busy lives. We have lots of work to do. We're not always, mainly with the remote work and everything, we're not, face to face with people that much anymore. So sometimes you miss that. In the office, you could see the person was, feeling that way, but maybe through the camera you can't. So you should always work, make this conscious effort to be the one to bring empathy to the workplace.
Yes, I love that. Absolutely love that. So one of the things I think as well is that while we talk about having a safe space, I think we also need to make sure that our guys are empowered as well. It's not just about the women, it has to be twofold. Like there's the only way for us to actually succeed in this industry in this lifetime is to actually work together. So there is no sort of segregation. And one of the things I just wanted to clear up as well, a lot of people think that if you are female in the industry, that you need to have a female mentor. It doesn't have to be female. It can be male. And a lot of the guys, they've been very helpful in terms of showing me the ropes or, telling me how to do this, how to do that. So, like I said, the only way that we can truly succeed and get more women involved is by working with the guys. Yeah, guys, we need you too. We definitely need you. So that's one of the things I just always want to make sure of, and I always clear up with people. We need to work together as a team, men and women alongside each other. And that's the way that we can help increase more women in STEM, because having your support and your allyship is very important to us. So thank you for being here and for attending the panel, first of all, and for helping us to spread the word to actually encourage more women in STEM. So I know we have 2 minutes remaining. Any closing thoughts from Charlie?
Well, I just
Yeah.
thank you for having the conversation, Sanya.
Yes.
You've been doing so much work, and the books, and
Oh,
sharing
yes.
those stories are amazing. And I just, again, thank you for the attendees here, because it really is about the conversation. I mean, we love this industry, being in it 20 years, and I didn't even know I needed my sisters. And then to have these, conversations in groups of women getting together, you do feel like you miss something, not having them around. So just know that is, we love the industry, love working in male populated industries, and also love our sisterhood. And so if we can make those things more close to 50-50, like she was saying earlier, we're not going to feel that way. We're going to feel at our best. And so that's what we're working towards.
Definitely. Marcella, any closing words?
I always come back to the inspiration part. I think that young girls and women and everybody starting in this industry should just feel inspired, and we should make this conscious effort to make safer workplaces and to make sure that everybody feels secure of themselves, that they belong here. So women should definitely study hard, and men as well. Anybody that needs to study hard to be where they want to be. And girls belong in STEM.
All right. Elona, closing words.
Not much that hasn't been said already, but when it comes to feeling like we belong, I believe it has to be all around. So women should feel like they belong in the fields that they've chosen, and guys should feel like they belong there because they've made their way there, but that we belong there too. So it is a collaboration at the end of the day.
Oh yeah.
So we very much, I very much appreciate all my mentors and all my colleagues along the way, because if I didn't have male mentors and colleagues, I wouldn't have any. But yeah, it's very much an all-inclusive field.
Definitely. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining us this morning and for all of our attendees. We have so many more great panel discussions coming up. So be sure to tune in to that. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you all.